What's up, people? This is your boy Tommy Curtis, and this is Fade to Black Podcast. And we might be opening up, I guess, finally. I guess after all this time. This is one thing for Trump. He loves breaking records. So we're finally opening up, possibly. And the Dems got what they got, which is nothing. But if you recall my last podcast, I told you the Dems forgot one thing. The Republicans don't care. They wouldn't care if people was going hungry. They wasn't going to care if planes were going to get delayed, and they wasn't going to care if federal workers was going to be out, not getting paid, and they were okay with it. They went home. They were chilling. I mean, the Democrats was here just waiting and hoping and couldn't make a deal. No, that's old school stuff. When your senators and your House members actually cared about their constituents and wanted to work out stuff, hated to see the bad publicity and the people suffering, that they hated that. They don't now. They could care less about that. So kudos to the Dems, I guess, for, a valid effort. But unfortunately, that was a losing battle. There was just no way you was going to win, because if they didn't care, there was nothing you was going to do to get them to work towards a resolution to something they don't care about and they never cared about, which is healthcare. I mean, for God's sakes, the one thing that they definitely don't care about is healthcare. So if you thought that you was going to squeeze the levers to get them to make a deal about healthcare, let alone Obamacare, that was a dead stick. They wanted to get rid of that forever. They can care less about the pricing and how much they pay. They'll complain about right now about it's too high. The insurance companies give me money. Well, y'all knew about this, right? Y'all knew about this since y'all tried to overturn Obamacare like umpteen times. And every time y'all was talking about bringing out something bigger, better for everybody. Repeal and replace. Remember, y'all was running on that. Repeal and replace. Repeal and replace. Repeal and replace. All y'all was really doing was wanting to repeal, not the replace part. And y'all don't actually care about the insurance companies and what they charge. I mean, if y'all did, y'all wouldn't mention it every time the Dems are just talking about extending, the subsidies, because it wouldn't make sense anytime. They're not going to sit down. They're not going to vote. All they got was a promise from the Senate. The House ain't going to vote. So that's never going to happen. And you're not going to have no healthcare talks. It's just going to be talks about other investigations, other crazy stuff, other waste of time stuff, reaching back into time, doing first administration, all those investigations of stuff. And it's not going to be things that are in the here and now that will make you and our lives better. That's just a fact. That's the way it is. I guess what was weirdly disturbing to me most was how much they wanted you to not care. And just like the 60s, they, used a Reagan of trying to get a certain populace not to care about something. So snap, 41 million people on it. Now, contrary to what you've been seeing, of course, white Americans are the ones that mostly use it. There's more white Americans, and coming in second is blacks and then Hispanics, blah, 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 from there. I mean, you was seeing all sorts of other stuff, other foreigner groups and everything else. Now, mind you, all the data we get from that is coming from the census. Now, look at your census and you see what race they ask you for. It's just a handful. You can write in a race that is not listed there, but you will see some bar graphs of some real detailed race of all these Syria. I mean, this is like a eclectic like list of all these races that are collecting welfare. Well, that's an interesting graph, inaccurate and mostly false. And I tell people because I have a master's in emergency management and homeland security, so I deal with numbers all the time. I love pulling data. I love reading research, and I make data and research, and know how to plug in numbers and statistics and everything else. And I tell people to be careful with statistics because and percentages, bar graphs, and everything else, because when you see those, it is for visual cue. They want you to look at it and see this high bar and this percentage, and you have no idea what it means, but you could tell that bar is real high. Like, for instance, if you see 40% of all Syrians are that are here legally are on food stamps or have SNAP, you would think, oh my God, that's 40%. That's crazy. Now, if I give you, let's say, the raw number, let's say it was from the time of that taking and from the census, from the answers of the census, there were, and I checked on this, there were about 103 that listed themselves as Syrian. So that means about 40 people, 40 were on SNAP. So you see how much of a difference that is now? So we're not talking about thousands or hundreds. We're talking about just 40 out of the 100 that answered the census in the affirmative of that's their race or that's where they came from. So the numbers you're seeing on those charts could mean any amount of people that answer from 3, which I saw as low as 3, all the way up to, 300, 300 something. Wasn't very high for all those numbers. It wasn't a very high number. So those percentages that you was looking at were, 30, 40, 50, 100. It wasn't large numbers they were showing you compared to Americans that are in the tens of thousands of millions that are on it. They were giving you the sprinkle handfuls and dozens and pulled them and made a chart and made it look like they were the vast majority of the SNAP recipients. And unfortunately, that's a lie. And what else did they do? Just like I said, in the 60s, had one lady, which they couldn't even verify if she was black, white. Her family was white. She came out darker, dark hair. They think that maybe the dad might have tiptoed out or something. She might have been half. Reagan referred to as welfare queen. Remember that term, welfare queen. 60s, so he ran on, and because he wanted to reform welfare. So just like what happened here when everything closed and people wasn't getting their SNAP, they wanted you as Americans not to care about people getting their SNAP. So what did? They played an old game they played in the 60s. They put a black face, black and brown faces on Snap. Made you think Snap is just this Shaniqua, single black woman just sitting there, with a whole bunch of kids and just collecting welfare while you're working very hard for your money. And she's just sitting there not working and you're paying for her, which is far from the truth. The majority of people that are getting snapped, there's a third of them already working. Some of them are working, they're paid, underpaid. And we have the elderly, that are, because my mom would qualify. She's 84 years old. All she has is her Social Security. My father died. Sh I instead moved her in with me. So obviously, I help support her, feed her, and take care of her. So she don't need to apply for SNAP. I wouldn't let her do that because she don't need it, but she would qualify for it. People of, elderly need is a whole nother sloth. Um, you have women that are still in school. You have a whole host of people that are finishing up college, you know, law school and medical school is very expensive. And for them to make up the difference and be able to eat, sometimes they use short-term benefits to cover that until they get out of school to, start working and repay their debt to society by paying into taxes. And you have some that are young that, you know, accidental pregnancies that decided not to abort the babies. So y'all should be, because that's the funny part about it, right? Y'all pro-lifers out there, this is the reality of if a young girl that is on her own and maybe has finished high school or just finished high school, maybe even younger, happens to get pregnant, and we're pushing a pro-life society, even trying to make it almost next to impossible for her to abort that child. Um, she would at some point would have to possibly go on SNAP for some time, be it to until she able to get a job or be able to go to school so that she can get a job, or until she can find some means of taking care of herself until that happens. But with reform and everything that happened in the 90s, you're not the person that's sitting on welfare forever, just sitting there, just enjoying welfare and I'm not going to work again. Welfare don't work that way no more. The fact of people just like Medicare, Medicaid, and welfare, people keep on saying that illegals. I have no idea where they get that from. Like I said, I've been emergency management and medic for 23 years. Um, so I have no idea. Worked in trauma center for a very long time. So I have no idea where people got that from. It makes no sense to me where things are being said that are not fundamentally true. I mean, you go online, you can look up the Medicare, Medicaid. You can see that if you are illegal or here, undocumented, you can't sign up for those programs. That's just the bottom line. And we say, oh, well, there's health, the house, head of house. Well, for instance, let's say that there is a illegal or undocumented household, but the children was born here. The children, the American children, will be getting stamps, and they're calculated for just them. The parents are not into the figure. The amount they'll be getting is what it would be needed for to sustain the children. That's how that works. Kids are American citizens, until the Constitution has changed. They're still American citizens. The children, because they have Social Security numbers, to children qualify. That's the only exception to that. Fools that get hit by a plane, hit by a car, shot by a stray bullet, ice tackles them and busts their head open. They have to go to the hospital. They get treated. They don't get a bag of money to leave out the hospital. They don't get a dime. They don't get a insurance card on their way out. They don't get nothing. They get a discharge piece of paper, which amounts to about 30 cents a page. And all monies that is recouped goes to the hospital, which I don't think people understand when they say illegals are getting something. Yeah, they getting treated, of course, but that's it. They don't get follow-up care. They don't get their prescription paid for. They don't get nothing beyond what is needed by law to stabilize them, make sure they don't die in the middle of the street. Just much more paperwork and much more costly. And that's it. So let's say broke a tooth. Well, figure out how he's going to go to a dentist and pay cash. A lot of them take their kids to their doctors. They pay cash. Most places, they pay about $150, $175 cash to see the doctors so the kids can get their shots and stuff. A lot of places make a lot of cash money off of the illegal or the undocumented population. I'm sure they're missing that cash money that they would get frequently from those groups because they had no choice because they don't have insurance. So when people tell you they have cards, they have insurance, they give them insurance, that's not true. I just don't know why people are saying it. Do illegals fake social security numbers? Some do. That's for a different specific reason they do that. And those people that do that have zero attention of wanting to ever become a citizen. Because those people that are doing that, they're doing it for a specific reason, fraudulent reason to, get something be it, maybe a certain type of license or certain type of job to fleece higher pay or do something else because they really don't care about messing up and ruining any chances they would ever have. Because if they get caught doing that, there would be zero chance for them ever to ever be qualified to be a citizen at all, ever. So those people, if they're caught, then they done it to themselves. Once they're out this country, they will never have a chance to ever enjoy the American dream because they chose to, use or take something or do something fraudulent. But for the most part, most people don't do that because they want to stay off the radar. And you have some that they call it's like a TIN. It's a, not like an EIN where you get a business number. It's like a TIN. It's a number that you get, temporary identification number that you get. So if you are here undocumented or illegally, if you're working, you can voluntarily pay your taxes. I have no idea why the Trump administration would go after them first. Like, they'll be the last bunch in the bushel I would have went for if I went for them at all. That would be the last. I mean, they're paying. They're paying taxes, by the hundreds of millions in taxes, and they don't get anything, of value from that. They don't build, Social Security credits or anything. So they're just paying just to pay, just to say, hey, look, we've been paying taxes. And that's it. It's like free money for Americans. So that would have been the last bushel I would have touched. That would have been the last ones. If I was going to get them all, they would have been the last ones. Let them keep paying. Let them, I mean, what's a few 100 million more? Like, really? Like, he was grabbing them first. Like, oh, the low hanging fruit. Let's get those. Like, really? That didn't make sense to me. Like, really? Getting the ones that are, and then you gotta scrum around for the real bad ones. Like, you didn't want to work hard for the real bad ones. You just want to get the low hanging fruit first. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, if the whole purpose was to get rid of these crazies, you had to put the work in because obviously they don't want to be found. Obviously. So you have to put in some work to find those. And that means working with the community, working with the police, because you can have a good idea where the illegal criminal element hang, where they're at. And just with some cooperation, most people would be like, yeah, we don't need them here. But little Pedro that was up there on the roof, hooking up people, taking care of the roof in like 2 hours, or, taking care of the lawn work, working hard, because nobody else in my neighborhood was doing it. I mean, seriously. Like, my neighborhood, predominantly white, and there's like three major um, lawn care contractors around here. They're owned by white people, but 99.9% of their employees are all Mexican. And one time I had to go vacation, leaving, and I'm sitting there like, man, I wanted to cut my lawn before I left. So I called him up. I said, can somebody come here before I leave? Is that possible? He said, "Oh, I could bring somebody over there. Yeah, we can have somebody over there. We got somebody over there today." I said, okay. So, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, let me put off a couple, like a couple hours, maybe give them to cut the lawn, and then I'll head to the store. I ain't need no couple hours. Like, and I want to tell you, if it wasn't 20 minutes, these guys came out deep. Like, they went zzz, 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 and then another one came right behind and started trimming right behind him. And then another one came, like two of them was coming with these blowers on their back. Oh, okay, okay, Bobby, okay. They can do like the whole city, like I never seen that type of coordination work that was crazy. Yeah, I mean, so work hard. It was hot out. They did it fast. They did it quick, and it was clean. It wasn't sloppy. It was clean. It was they trimmed. They blew off all the. I mean, it was good work. 20 minutes, like that's crazy. I guess I'm saying it because I had a push mower. I could have a mower. Kind of jealous, but anyway, the whole point is they wanted this whole time for us to not care about Snap. And what I saw on between X and all these things, I even seen AI videos of black people, brown people, some of them anti-Snap talking, or some of them being angry black women. And they were AI videos. It was a full-on assault on, they knew that it was terrible that people were going hungry. So the only thing they could think of was to pull out an old game, old little trick out their hat that they used since the 60s. They wanted people to not care. And the only thing they could think of is, if we make you think that the only people that uses Snap is these single black welfare queens walking around, you know, wearing, Jordans, jewelry everywhere, kids with their nice clothes on, and it is sitting there just buying up the whole store and not working, even though they can or whatever. They just don't want to, and you're paying for it. And if we could put that face onto it, then y'all won't care that they're fighting to not pay out SNAP, that they're fighting all the way to the Supreme Court that recently just said, oh, we're going to hold off the SNAP payments until Thursday because they don't want to pay for the mercy funds. But a lot of people started to not care, just like in the 60s. They believe that welfare is a black thing, not a American thing, not a reaches across all political aisles, all races, children, millions. But if we can make you think it's just black women and their children, you will care just a little bit less. And we can get away with not having to pay out. We can hold out longer. Make the Dems have to give in. As long as we can get the people out there to not care, then they start talking about the insurance. Oh, the people. The people should have the insurance, not the insurance companies taking their money and all the fraud. Oh, the fraud. And I want you to care because a lot of y'all hear Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, and people used to have when they hear Affordable Care Act, have a positive thought about Affordable Care Act, then have a negative view about Obamacare and not knowing that they're both the same thing. I mean, what American or American family or somebody in their family haven't been touched by being denied insurance or having to pay some huge amount because of pre-existing conditions? I mean, millions of people that never had insurance or wasn't able to get insurance got on insurance when Obamacare started, but they don't want you to care. They want you to make you think that it's all about the cost of subsidies when they're sending $40 billion to Argentina. And while Argentina is then turning around and trying to bankrupt our farmers, you have to be blind if you don't see China online laughing when they're showing the meat products they have that say Australia or Argentina on it and calling America stupid. Our farmers are the best in the world at what they grow. We've been doing it forever. We're being pushed out of the market. For what? They want you to say that it's not worth helping to pay subsidies so that we people can afford their insurance. We can pay Ukraine. We can pay Israel billions of dollars in weapons support. We're spending millions of dollars right now setting warships over Venezuela. But as long as you don't care, then it's okay. As long as you stop caring, as long as you think that it's not your people, the other people that are using SNAP, despite more white people using SNAP, it's more of y'all. We're a nonprofit, and my nonprofit focuses on Americans. I don't do anything outside of America. I focus on American issues, American problems, um, helping with disaster services, helping with hunger, um, employment, education, things like that. And I sing hunger from all walks of life, all colors. A young black hungry child is no different than a white hungry child or a Spanish hungry child. But they want you to think it is. Don't lose your empathy. They're counting on that. They're making decisions hoping it's based off of you losing your empathy towards others or pretending like one side has extraordinary crime than the other, or one side is poorer than the other, or one side is dumber than the other. They want you to think one side is this versus that. They're hoping for that because that's how they get us, by splitting us. And this is all politicians. I'm not just speaking of one side or talking about just MAGA or the Trump administration. No, I'm talking about everybody. The Dems, independents, politicians have become known to use social issues, dividing issues to get power and maintain power. And another thing about social media, let me just tell y'all, use common sense. These platforms have made people a lot of money that would, in any other world, those people would not have the opportunity that was laid in their lap. And the way social media is designed that way, is that getting eyes on their posts is profitable. And today, hate is the number one seller. Hate is really making people a lot of money. So I just tell people, follow the people you like. Listen to the people you like. Free speech, free world. But have some common sense and use a little judgment, right? To know that the person you're reading information off of is making money off of that post. And they're posting it in that mindset, not to be informative or just general newsworthy. No, they want to get a reaction. Usually negativity gets more people to react to it. So it has to be off the wall. It has to be crazy. Take a story and twist it. Make it crazy. Share that. Gets everybody typing angry stuff and talking. No. Being a black man and looking on X, you gotta have thick skin. The Cower Patrol, I call them, the ones that have a lot to say are too cowardless, too feckless to actually show themselves or, have a true identity of themselves. They have these little fake pages and they want to say these horrific things. I mean, they just make a whole page of just posting about blacks saying nutty stuff like just, whatever they want to say. They feel free. They feel tough on, behind their computer, on their phone, typing away, and people respond to it. And what do? You feel good about that. So you keep doing it. And you keep doing it. You get more followers. And the one thing you notice is there's a lot of people that think that way. That's why I laugh when somebody says racism it's not still in America. I laugh. It's like, you been on X lately? Been on Instagram lately? Facebook? No? Go visit those sites. Come back to me. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 followers. They got a lot of followers that think and feel the same way. But it's America. I'm happy for them. They can share that. It don't make it true. Don't make it real. It's just their weird opinion. I find it weird that grown men, people, go on site all day just to do that. But I do understand the profitability of it. To them, it's become a business. It's a business model. Just look at when one posts, they all jump on and post this. It's a business model now. It's a moneymaker. And people have to recognize when they see that from the left or right that you're being fed these things because not that they're trying to inform you, they're trying to influence you to interact solely with their post for profit. That's it. Just pure profit. That's all you are to them. All of those people that are responding to these crazy posts, that person sitting back and probably laughing at, look how I'm getting these people to do my bidding. I, imagine how Hitler felt. I can't believe I said these things, and they're literally going out killing men, women, and children. They believe that? They believe that I just said enough for them to go out and do these things? I think that's the one thing that I think sometimes Trump don't realize the power of the influence. And sometimes I know he understands it. Sometimes I don't think he appreciates it. He says things, you know, just out of anger or frustration, but he don't realize that his voice carries power with it. That there's nuts out here that just read into what he might mean. I know everybody goes, "Oh, the left. The left is." I go hoppycott bullshit. If I go with bullshit with them saying that the left is, there ain't no standout leader of the Democratic Party that is that hyperbolic, that is literally everybody follows, that is saying crazy, violent things. It's only popular that much in the Democratic Party. Name me some. Y'all name another black senator, female senator. Please save it. Angry black chick that y'all, that is not someone being hyperbolic, singing, calm pitchforks, storm the cap, do crazy. Now, I'm talking about, at the level that is questionable, where, this his voice is powerful and at the same time can be dangerous because people blindly would follow this person. There is no one with that power in the Democratic Party. No one is equal to how Trump has the Republican Party. There's nobody in the, there's a whole bunch of people wearing red hats and going around and with giant flags, and that's had him for since he's been in office for the first time. There's no one that has that type of power and control in the Democratic Party. Name somebody. There's no one. You know, Obama, he is one of the power brokers in the Democratic Party and is still popular and stuff, but he's not hyperbolic. He's not, he's like, don't boo, vote. I mean, he's not, don't boo, go kill. No, he's not saying nothing crazy. So I'm talking about somebody that is, that is real powerful and speaks his mind. Now we talking about the governor of California. He's getting there. I don't think he's there yet. I think he's becoming more of that type of person that could develop into that type of person that would get people to just run out and follow the lead. I mean, he showed that with the passing of Prop 50. But as of right now, Trump has the Republican Party on a stranglehold. You can't say that there's somebody in the Democratic Party that has the Democratic Party in a stranglehold. None. None. That's just fact. You would think, you know, somebody in the Democratic Party would start to have the backbone enough to start to get up and rise up and tell Fetterman to officially go to the Republican Party. And it's a Republican. What is this? That guy's a spy. He's a spy. Like, how did he get into the Democratic Party? Like, did, did he not? Did he forget that he was a Democrat? Did that man like stroke out and forgot that he was a Democrat? Like when he had that stroke, did he like what was that? What party was that? Everybody keep on telling me I'm a Democrat, but I could have swear I'm a Republican. Like, because that man talks like a Republican, sounds like a Republican. I seen that man on Fox News more than anything. And he's the first one that voted with the Republicans. Like, so, dude, just change that R. Like, change to the R. If that stroke changed your life. You are a Republican now. Just go ahead. Finish the transition. You have transitioned. Go be with who you want to be. Go fly, butterfly. Like, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if the Democrats be looking at him like, let's go talk outside. Fetterman's in here. I don't know what he's going to do. He might tell us. Like, so I don't know. They trust him around, or I don't know. It's weird. I just never seen that like that. That's what I said. That's what's the problem with the Democratic Party. They really need a pair of people, be aggressive. That will stand up as a leading force for them because they're a bunch of sheep without a shepherd right now. So they need somebody that's going to say, I got you. Follow my lead and start doing it. Start taking those rings. We'll see. I don't know. But that's it for now, folks. I have talked enough. And like I told y'all, don't allow people to use emotion, to use biases, to muddy the water, the muddy facts. Facts are a lot of Americans use Snap of all races, all creeds, all colors. The days of single mom, black girl just walking around and using welfare for ever, one, that whole process has changed. And two, that's not the face of welfare recipients. So don't fall for the okey doke all the time, using our races against us, using our emotions to twist facts. Like I said, I'm done, but I'll touch on next week about how both sides of the aisle should look at what ICE is doing as a emergency, manager. And like I said, I have a master's in emergency manager and homeland security. I'm going to give you what I think are the positive things that ICE is doing and should be doing, and that benefit, but negatives also. And we'll get into that because, there's not just one side of this coin when it comes to ICE, but we have to look at both views and we have to see where this lands because there are issues on both sides. But we'll talk about that next week. So thank you for coming by. And like I said, people, please stop by, social media accounts. You can also go by fadedblackpodcast.com, which is where you will find me most of the time. It's Faded Black Me or Faded Black MED. That's for the media. We have Faded Black Media Group, where I'm under Faded Black Media Group LLC. Is under Faded Black Podcast. That's our overarching company. You can also go to fadedblackmedia.com or but I just want y'all to go to fadetoblackpodcast.com and join there where you get all of the new podcast and some of the behind the scenes stuff that you won't see. But definitely go there first and you get everything and all of my social media accounts and all that stuff. But see you next week and have a good one, guys.